more about who we are, what we do, and how we do it, call toll-free 1-866-928-3310. And we'll send you out a no-obligation information kit absolutely free. 866-928-3310. The CFRN Emini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phones. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey, trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If, on the other hand, you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.CFRN.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.CFRN.net. Every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Bork. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Tuesday, 7th day of July. There's a ghost in the machine. 7th day, 26th day of July, 2016. Happy Tuesday. I hope you've had a good Tuesday so far. We've got a packed show for you today. We have a very, very special guest with us today. I saw her last night on TV with Sean Hannity. I contacted her this morning. Her son, was killed by an illegal alien. But there's much more to the story than just that. It runs a lot deeper. She wrote a letter to President Obama expressing her feelings. I'm going to share that letter with you right before she comes on. She'll be coming on at the top of the hour today, and then I'm going to let her speak her conscience and speak her heart. She has become a real advocate for this problem that plagues America, and she speaks very well. She knows her statistics, and no one better to hear it from than her. So I'm really looking forward to this. Call your friends, call your family, tell them that Mary Ann Mendoza will be on our show today, 1 p.m. Eastern, and I want to thank Mary Ann. If you're listening in now out in the audience, I want to thank you for taking the time to come and just spend a few minutes with us. You live in Mesa, Arizona. I'm in Phoenix, so this tragedy very close to home, and it should have never happened. And we have to put someone in office who makes sure it doesn't happen again. So I look forward to speaking with you at the top of the hour. Now, for those of you who are new to the show, perhaps you're tuning in today for the very first time and you don't see anything. Okay. You may be at our home page listening to the audio stream. That's okay. You might be off listening through one of the third-party apps such as TuneIn Radio. That's okay. But if you want to see the pictures, and if you want to see the charts, go to our homepage at CFRN.net. On the right-hand side of the page, there's a big microphone. Click it, follow the instructions. You'll be followed all the way through the end of the month. Yeah, that's right, next Monday. But then come Tuesday, first day of August, we all register again. But it only takes 30 seconds to register, and you get 30 seconds, or you get 30 days for 30 seconds. That's a pretty fair exchange. So, with all that said, let's take a look at the numbers around the world. Now, we've had some disappointing earnings today already. McDonald's disappointed, Caterpillar disappointed. Apple is getting a sell rating from a senior analyst, Colin Gillis. Apple, I don't think they missed their numbers, but they reduced their expectations. It's like, why miss our number when we can just reduce the expectation? That whole analyst business, I'm just going to tell you, I've said this for, well, since long before CFRN became a radio station, was that when analysts upgrade a stock, you're pretty close to the top. And when they downgrade a stock, you're pretty close to the bottom. Now, you pick any stock and you go back through history, any stock that has analyst coverage, you'll find out I'm not too far off. Just received a very nice tweet from Miss Mendoza. We sure look forward to talking with you. Let's go to the numbers, guys. Hopefully those of you that want to see the charts have the charts in front of you now. We're going to start with the cash markets here in the U.S. Our show primarily deals with Emini Futures, but the cash markets give us sort of an idea where we stand worldwide in comparison to where we stood yesterday. Things are a bit quiet ahead of the Fed announcement tomorrow. The big question is, will Janet raise the rate? Does she dare? You know, she raised it a while back, and then she didn't raise it, and so could she even take back the one raise that she's given us? Quarter point raise? Quarter point. They're fidgeting and fighting over a quarter point raise. Some of you are old enough to remember when interest rates were 18%. Now, yes, an 18% interest rate is bad news for a homeowner, a first-time home buyer. But for the retiree who's attempting to live on their savings, earning 18% or some portion thereof is a very good thing. So, where does Janet ultimately end up? Pray. Pray that she doesn't take us to the land of negative interest rates. That could be the final nail in America's coffin. And we believe in a better and a brighter America for tomorrow. So, Janet, do the right thing. Push the pedal to the metal, raise the interest rates a full point, and watch this economy perk up, turn around, and put a smile on my face. All right, I got to move quick because Michael has his Tuesday meeting, and he's got to get in here and do the recap. So let me give you these numbers real quick. Again, these are cash markets. Dow Jones Industrials are down 47 points. NASDAQ is down, the NASDAQ is up 4. S&P is down 2. And the Russell 2000 is up almost 5. As we look at our commodity basket, crude oil down 28 cents a barrel, gold down 90 cents, trading at 13.1860. Again, I'm very comfortable with gold over 1300, and as long as it stays over 1200, I lose no sleep. Okay, let's turn to Asia. The Nikkei is down 237 points. That's 1.5%. Shanghai is up 34. That's a little over 1%. And the Hang Seng $100 billion baby is up 136 points today. That's a little over half of 1%. In the European markets, the DAX is up 49 points, half of 1%. FTSE is up 13 points. The CAC is up 7. When I come back, we're going to do a couple things. We're going to talk about Bernie's statement last night about it being a darn shame. That's about as rough as Bernie gets. You know, the more I see him and the more I listen to him, I in no way reconcile with his economic policies and beliefs, but as a person, he's a likable guy. I think last night I heard someone, I don't know if it was Sean, whoever it was, called him a curmudgeon. But anyway, I think he's a nice fellow, and we certainly don't agree when it comes to money and what you do with money and how you distribute money. That whole wealth distribution thing is, well, I mean, the man's an admitted socialist, and that's just one step away from communist. And have you noticed lately that our other candidate running for office, she's starting to dress almost daily in that mousy tongue outfit? Now, I'm sure it's very expensive, probably a couple $1,000s, but I can't help but get the picture out of my eye that pantsuit. I mean, she's an attractive woman. I'm not saying anything bad about her as far as her looks. We don't agree on anything when it comes to politics, and I'm not going to say anything negative about her looks. I'm just saying the outfit reminds me of the one mousy tongue I used to wear. So, anyway, Bernie Sanders said it's a darn shame. I say it's a beautiful day. My friend Michael, if you're ready, my friend, step on in here and we'll do a recap of everything that happened in the live trading room today. We cover it all, guys, the good, the bad, the stuff that we refuse to sweep under the carpet. Sometimes you go into these live trading rooms and there's a little bit of parlor trick activity, a little fast hand action, and we just don't do that. We prefer to tell you the truth about trading. Because the beautiful thing about the truth is if you tell somebody the truth today, you can remember it tomorrow.
There you
All
go.
right, brother. I'm going to hit mute. It's all yours.
You'll always get it right when they ask you to repeat.
That's right.
All right, here we go. I'm going to start the recording. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Tuesday, the 26th day of July 2016. Today in the live trading room, we made 12 ticks on soybeans, 2 ticks on the euro, 3 ticks on the YM. We lost 1 tick on crude, and we made 2 ticks on gold. Today it took us 2 minutes and 1 trade to get to our goal for the day, and at that point we were up $100 a contract. By the end of the live trading room, though, we had taken 17 trades. Okay, so if you add all this up, I think it comes up to $187.50. Now, on the month, we're up $3,501. That's over 17 trading days, averaging $205 a day, $205 per day. Okay. If you were to apply an $8 commission to every trade we've taken, you'd have a net profit of $1,437. And if you were to apply a $5 commission, you would have a net profit of $2,211. Okay. On the year now, we're up $34,380. That's over 139 trading days. Trading just 1 contract for 2 hours per day, and we're averaging $247 per day. So gross profit average per day, we're making what, 123 bucks an hour, roughly. And that's with 1 contract. So if we want to double that, make it $247 an hour, well, we just put another contract on. Triple it, we just put another contract on. If I want to make $500 an hour, I would just trade 4 contracts. On average, that's saying. Okay, so that is all of that. All right, that is all of that. If you have not taken a free trial with us, just go to the home page here at CFRN.net. In the right-hand column where it says register for a free trial, put in your name, put in your email, click on register for a free trial. When you do that, you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click that confirmation link. Okay, you got to click that confirmation link. If you don't click the link, you don't get the free trial. All right. Now let's get into the trades. Now, oops, that's on the wrong monitor. Here, I'll bring the YM over. We'll start out with the YM today. All right. Now, we had some big movement down here. Big movement down. That was toward the end of the live trading room, and it's starting to recover some now. See? But we'll get into the 1 trade we took. All right, it was right here. Now, the ES was in and around the weekly trading zone pretty much all morning. That is why we only had this 1 trade here on the YM. We made 3 ticks profit on this trade. Okay, for this move down, let's see, it was a short trade there, another one there, another one there, and a little bit of a direction change. Could have gone long there. This is just about into the break. Long there. And then this was during the break. Along right here, didn't really go anywhere. And right now we have the backwards divergence. That was the YM. We ended with plus 3 ticks on the YM today. Okay. And gold is where we got our goal for the day. Our first trade of the day was right here on gold. We took 10 ticks profit on that one. All right. Then we had a couple of break-even trades, and then we stopped out. And then gold got really choppy. You know, we had drawn in around 10 o'clock. We had drawn in this box right here, saying that we needed to get up above there to be trending, and we never did. We hit it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits against that level. And right there and right there were the opportunities during the break. Okay, just a couple of them during the break. Now the ES, we had pointed out This trade right here didn't go anywhere on the ES, and then this trade right here. This one we did after the fact, this one we did real time. This would have been going right into the weekly trading zone, so I don't know that I would have taken it, because you had to have at least 2 points in between, and you didn't. You only had a point and a quarter. It would have worked out just fine, but I was pointing it out to one of the guys that was in there on the trial. Since then, let's see, there was a long trade right here, getting you up to the zone right now. So on the ES, that's what we had. On crude oil, we started out, see all this movement crude had in the pre-market. Really nice movement in the pre-market. And we had a break even, nothing. Then we had 7 ticks profit right here. Then we stopped out, -8 ticks right there, putting us at -1. And then we had a break even right there. Now during the break, we had nothing we could do right here because the cycle's going down too steep. Change of direction, and you could have shorted right in there. Would have been a break even trade. Okay. And that was it on the crude. And the soybeans were our friend today. We had drawn this leg right here based upon, let me show you. Just do a copy and a paste. Alright. We had drawn that leg based upon that right there. And I drew it over here. And I said look for it to get up to 76. And it got up there to the tick. Alright, we took 12 ticks profit on that trade. Okay. 12 ticks profit on that trade. The next trade that we took, we had a break even, and then we had another break even. And that was all we did with soybeans. They were pretty nicely tradable today. They were. During the break, there was a shorting opportunity, not there. During the break, there wasn't anything. You might have a shorting opportunity now coming up during the break, but it's pretty flat right now. Okay, on the euro, we had just a couple of trades. The first one we stopped out on, pretty much to the tick. And then the second one we took 10 ticks profit on. Okay, since then, look how flat and nasty this has been. This is just some ugliness right here in the euro. What is happening though is the indexes are really moving up. Okay, so you should see the euro either go flat or go south, and the same thing from gold. Okay. Hang on. Okay, Dwayne. I'll take care of that. Well, I can do it if you want, Dwayne, because I'm going to wrap up here in just a minute.
Did you call me already? Okay, I didn't think you did.
Well, I said I'm just going to wrap up here.
Okay.
That's why I said I can do that phone call that you just texted to me.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. All right. So if you have not taken our free trial, go to CFRN.net. In the right-hand column where it says register for a free trial, put in your name, put in your email, click on register for a free trial. When you do that, you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click the confirmation link. Okay. If you don't click the confirmation link, you will not get the free trial. And a recap of our recap. Today it took us 2 minutes and 1 trade to get to $100 a contract.
You read my mind.
Yep. And we took a total of 17 trades. So on the month now, we're up $3,501 over 17 trading days, averaging $205 a day. And on the year, we're up $34,380 over 139 trading days, averaging $247. There. Okay.
Okay.
Now I can pass it back out
now
to you.
that I've got so many things going on at once here, now that I'm actually listening, what was the recap of the recap?
It was 2 minutes, 1 trade, $100 a contract.
May I be the first to say, boom, baby.
Yes, thank you. I love it when that happens.
Yeah.
Like yesterday. 106 minutes yesterday.
Yeah.
But we have 17 trading days this month, and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them have been the first trade of the day.
Okay, let me grab these screens. That's awesome. That is awesome.
Okay, thank you, John.
Hey there, John.
We have FOMC tomorrow, and that could have something to do with it, John.
Now, I left this up from yesterday. Let me get it. There we go. Oh, screen didn't change.
Yeah, it did. Well, we see your ES chart.
You do?
We do.
Okay.
We do
I'll
indeed.
just go with that because on my... Oh, there we go. My other one finally. It's a little bit slow. All right. Yesterday we had 2162 Concierge Trade Alerts short, which took us down to the zone at 2162, took us down to 2156.57. So from 62 to 50, that was a 5-point move. The entire move down, zone to zone, and I didn't extend these, I just left them like they were yesterday. And then 7 back up, and then I had issued a radio trade, sell 51.54, which never triggered, or buy 21.61 with the weekly trading zone overhead as a target. And this is what that looked like. Bang. Ball 51, ball 61, hit the target. Giddy up. Okay. Love them zones. Zones. Alright, brother, I know you got a lot to do, and you're welcome to stay, but don't want to hold you. Is there any unanswered questions in the channel?
Nope, no one answered questions.
No unanswered questions. Okay, just a reminder to everyone that we have the honor today of having the mother of fallen police officer Sergeant Brandon Mendoza with us today. Marianne Mendoza. She has been her son, the police officer, he died tragically in a hit and run accident with an illegal alien that was severely over the limit, and it wasn't his first time that he had been in jail. And although he couldn't get a social security card, he couldn't get a driver's license, he was allowed to register a vehicle in Maricopa County. How does that happen? And he hit her son head on, and it's just a horrible tragedy. I'm going to share more with you in a few minutes. I'm going to read a letter to you that she wrote personally to President Barack Obama, and then she is going to join us. Burton Leslie will be patching her into the show today at 1 p.m. Eastern. So those of you that are on the free trial, I do want you to go to Michael's meeting. We are recording the radio show in full as we do every day, and it will be available this afternoon as soon as I get it rendered at emini.cfrn.net. Okay? And that's what we do each and every day. Alright. Now, we've already covered the numbers for the day. We're going to go to our good word for the day. Last 3 days, we have been talking about divorce. It's not an easy topic to discuss, but it is one that... Give me 1 second, please. Okay. Slight technical difficulty. Alright. So for the last 3 days we talked about divorce, about the pain that it brings, but that it is in no way considered to be the unpardonable sin, as we've often heard it talked about. And it's not the case. Our God is just and quick to forgive. We do firmly believe that marriage is an institution that God Himself intended to be permanent. But you know, life happens, and we aren't always living perhaps the way our grandmother taught us to live. We have to take our stroll out into the world and, you know, get knocked around a little bit, come to our senses, and then hopefully we come to our senses. So I hope that during these past 3 days, the talk that we've had about divorce, it was certainly meant not to hurt anyone's feelings. In fact, I hope I did the very opposite. I hope I showed you or helped you to understand that we serve a God who is quick and just to forgive. When I was senior pastor at the church downtown, I did an awful lot of weddings because it's a very beautiful Victorian chapel. It's actually Gothic style. But there was, down the street about a mile, there was a very large church, and I won't call the name because there's no need for that. And they don't believe in marrying people who have made a mistake. I'll never forget the first of many, the first couple that came to me and said, and she looked like she was ready to give birth any minute. And she said, "Can we talk to you?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "We have a problem." And I didn't want to state the obvious, and I said, "Well, you know, how can I help?" She said, "Well, we belong to the church down the street." And she mentioned the great big church, and I said, "Okay." And she said, "And we don't want our child to be born out of wedlock." But they refuse to marry us because they say we sinned against God. And so I asked them, I said, "Do you believe that God forgives sins? That He went to Calvary and died for that purpose?" And they both said yes. I said, "So let us pray together and ask for the remission of sin." And they go, "We have." And I said, "Well, let's pray together." So there's power in praying together. When you tell somebody, "Yeah, brother, I'll keep you in my prayers," that's one thing, and that's a good thing. But when you grab them by the hand and grab them by the shoulder and say, "Hey, brother," and you just whisper in their ear, you speak to God right in their very presence on their behalf. There's power in that. And so we prayed this first time this happened. And the following weekend was one of the most beautiful weddings I ever officiated over. I don't know where she found a wedding dress, and it was obviously a wedding dress, a very beautiful wedding dress, that size and of that proportion. And she was a tidy Hispanic young girl herself, but I'm telling you, this baby was, it could have happened on the altar during the ceremony, and boy, I felt the peace of God in there. And we did the unity candle, and it was, I felt God's blessing and God's grace in that place. I mean, they wanted, these were young kids, 20, 21 at the most, but yet they understood the importance of their baby not, they knew they made a mistake, but they did not want their baby to be born out of wedlock. And their church, where they had gone all their life, Sunday school and youth group and, you know, the choir and all the stuff that you do, and they were told, no, you're sinners. Can't do it. Man, that set me on fire. I became known as a hippie preacher downtown that would perform weddings for people who were turned away elsewhere. Now, I'm going to be honest, I never did any of the same-sex marriages or those. I just, by the grace of God, I avoided it. I was never pinned down, put on the spot, you know, and that's happened to a lot of people, to a lot of pastors, that they try to make an issue of them and the situation. And again, by God's grace, I meant, although I just did tons and tons of weddings, I never got, but my wife and I had discussed it, and we'd already made up our mind that the answer was no. And that's based on my personal belief. Whatever another person's personal belief is, whatever they work out behind closed doors between themselves and God, that's between them and God. But for me to openly and publicly give it my approval, I just didn't feel that I could do that. I have no hatred in my heart. I'm not filled with disgust in any way. I believe in loving everybody equally. So we talked about divorce. We talked about marriage, which I hadn't really planned to. So how much time do we have before our guest joins us today? All right. Let's go to our good word for the day. Now, this is going to end up being 2 parts, simply because I'm not going to be able to finish it all in one day. So we just won't have enough time. At the turn of the century, at the turn of the last century, which actually I think this now would go back 2 centuries, a Russian psychologist and physician named Ivan Pavlov did some experiments with dogs that made him famous. In fact, he won a Nobel Prize. Pavlov wanted to find out how conditioned reflexes were acquired. He knew that dogs naturally salivate to food, but he wanted to see if salivation could be caused by another stimulus. Pavlov discovered that if he rang a bell before feeding the dogs, that eventually the ringing bell sans food would still cause salivation. Pavlov returned to this learned relationship, or referred to this learned relationship, as a conditioned reflex. The discovery is actually a restatement of what Aristotle referred to as the law of congruity. When 2 things commonly occur together, the appearance of one will bring the other to mind. That is the way God has wired the human mind. What I want you to see is that all of us have been conditioned a lot more than we realize. To one degree or another, all of us are Pavlovian. Over the course of our lifetime, we acquire consciously and subconsciously an elaborate set of conditioned reflexes. Some good, some bad. Let me give you an example. Every time I fill up my tank with gas, as I'm driving away, I look out in my rearview mirror to make sure the hose isn't still in the car. Anybody want to try and take a guess why? Because once I didn't look in the rearview mirror and the hose was still in the tank. Imagine a car with a tail. Now, that's what it looked like as I'm pulling out of the parking lot, not to mention all the other chaos that's erupting. So now I'm conditioned. Every time I pull away from a pump, I subconsciously think maybe I forgot to remove the hose, and so I look to make sure. And you may have other such things in your life that resemble that. Now here's the trick. Those conditioned reflexes can be good or bad. I think the conviction of the Holy Spirit when we sin is a holy and healthy conditioned reflex. But false guilt isn't. Some of us feel guilty over confessed sin, and we shouldn't. Like the young couple who had already gone before God and confessed their sin. But guilt, the law, was still being held over their head. False guilt isn't. Some of us feel guilty over confessed sin, and we shouldn't. God has forgiven it. He has forgotten it. But it's harder for us to forgive because we can't forget roosters crow. If you look at the scriptures through the filter of Ivan Pavlov, there's some fascinating conditioned reflexes. All four Gospels record the story of Peter denying Christ. Luke 22:60 says that right as Peter was denying Christ the third time, a rooster crowed. The Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. Then Peter remembered the word the Lord had spoken to him. Before the rooster crows today, you will disown me 3 times. And he went outside and wept bitterly, it says. This had to be the most painful failure in Peter's life. And I have to wonder if Peter felt a twinge of guilt every time a rooster crowed for the rest of his life. You know how certain stimuli trigger certain memories. A sight or sound or smell can unlock memories that we thought we had completely forgotten. For me, it's especially true with music. A song I haven't thought of in years. All of a sudden it plays on the radio, and this flood of emotions comes rushing in. And I mean heavily. I can almost feel and touch and smell the things that were happening in my life at the time when that song was an important part of my life. It's tough for us city dwellers to appreciate because we don't have roosters in the big city. But if you have traveled to foreign countries or rural places that roosters do rule the roost, you'll never forget waking up in the middle of the night by a rooster choir. One of the most distinct memories was a crazy rooster for me from Africa that had no internal clock. I've had a couple of those in Mexico as well. The crazy rooster would start crowing at about 3 a.m. and there was no snooze button. Imagine what it was like for Peter every morning. It was a daily reminder of his failure. The rooster's crow was a conditioned reflex, just like Pavlov's ringing bell. Now, let me tell you, what the enemy wants to do with this. There's a purpose behind it. Satan wants to remind you of your worst failures over and over and over again. He wants to crow like a rooster every single morning. I think Jesus calls us to be revolutionaries. Satan wants us to turn into reactionaries. He wants to condition our reflexes with guilt and fear, but Jesus came to recondition our reflexes. Instead of hating our enemies, we pray for those who persecute us. Instead of trying to be first, we go last. Jesus said that whoever keeps his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life will keep it. And when we get slapped on the cheek, we don't slap back. We turn the other cheek. For what it's worth, I think it's easy to act like a Christian. It's much more difficult to react like a Christian. And that's our good word for the day. And I want you to keep that thought in mind as in about 10 minutes we're going to be speaking with the mother of a slain police officer, Miss Marianne Mendoza, who's kind enough to come and spend just a little bit of time with us today. What I personally want to do before she comes on is I want to share with you exactly what happened, and I want to share with you the letter that she wrote, the heartfelt letter she wrote to President Barack Obama. The mother of a fallen Mesa police officer is writing President Barack Obama in hopes of changing immigration laws in the U.S. Police said Mary Ann Mendoza's son, Brandon Mendoza, was hit head-on by a driver who had been living in the country illegally for 2 decades. Officials said for much of the time that Raul Silva Corona was wanted for charges including burglary, assault, and leaving the scene of an accident. When he was finally captured in 2002, he took a plea deal and was allowed to stay in the United States. Now that is something that Miss Mendoza believes needs to change. There are a lot of issues that have welled up inside of me and are festering now that I've had time to think clearly, she says. At the forefront of her concerns are the president's policies on immigration. People who are coming here looking for jobs and who are wanting to make a difference in their life, I support them. I mean, that's what made this country great. It's what it's made of. But when you start breaking the law, there is no reason for those people to be here. Another issue Mendoza wants addressed has to do with driving. I don't think anyone who doesn't have a social security number and is here illegally, who cannot obtain a driver's license, should be allowed to register a vehicle anywhere in the United States and be able to drive it, she said. Mendoza told CBS News she's hopeful she'll get a response from President Barack Obama. Here is her letter to the President. President Obama, I am writing this letter to you regarding illegal immigrants. As a tax-paying, law-abiding citizen of the United States, I want my voice heard on the issue. My son, Sergeant Brandon Mendoza, an officer who was with the City of Mesa, Arizona Police Department, and was killed in a tragic head-on collision on on May 12, 2014, by a wrong-way driver on our freeways. This man happened to be an illegal immigrant, was in this country illegally, convicted of previous crimes, no social security number, no driver's license, but he had purchased a vehicle and registered it to drive in Maricopa County, Arizona. I had my son's life stolen from me by a man who didn't value his own life, was 3 times the legal limit drunk, was high on meth, drove for over 35 miles the wrong way on 4 different freeways, and had no business even being in this country. The federal government knew he, Raul Silva Corona, was an illegal immigrant when he was convicted of crimes in 1994 in Colorado. Prosecutors were lenient on him and several charges were dismissed. When he was convicted of those crimes in 1994 and the government knew he was in the country illegally, why wasn't he deported? Why are any of these illegal criminals in this country? I am furious that the federal government allowed this criminal to stay in this country and kill my son. I have attached several articles for you to personally read about my son. He was an icon with the City of Mesa Police Department. He was instrumental in making life better for people of all walks of life in the park project he took on. He was humble, selfless, worked many hours off the clock, helping disadvantaged children, and often used his own money to do things for the community, including adopting children at Christmas to provide them with gifts out of his own money. I've attached numerous articles for you to read about my son. This was not a life that should have been taken so early. The good he was doing in our community is remarkable. The difference he made in people's lives is amazing. And the comfort he brought people in friendship was immeasurable. All you have to do is Google Sergeant Officer Brandon Mendoza, and you will have plenty of reading material about my wonderful son who had just passed his sergeant's exam to become a sergeant. The chief of police posthumously promoted him during the week of his funeral, but that highlight of his life was stolen from him. He was Officer of the Year last year, Officer of the Quarter for the first quarter of 2014. He was only 32 years old and had done more in his life than most of us will do in a lifetime. I am going to have my voice heard, and I want you to know what my personal feelings are on whether criminal, illegal aliens, immigrants, should be allowed in this country. I have been directly affected by this. I am sure if your life had been affected like mine had been, you would have a different view of this situation. I have lived in Arizona most of my life. My son Brandon Mendoza was half Hispanic. It's not the color of skin that my son or I see, it's the person and how they conduct their lives. If you can't enter this country legally, then you shouldn't be here. If you commit crimes, you should pay the time that any of us U.S. citizens would have to serve. Letting these illegal criminals out of jails before their time is served and turning them loose on the streets to commit further crimes and kill our loved ones is not acceptable to me. And it shouldn't be acceptable to any U.S. citizen. Mr. President, you don't have the right to make this decision yourself. I have a say, even if it is for one moment. Maybe that one moment will light a spark with another citizen who will then light a candle, who can then light a bonfire, who can then light up a city, and so on and so on. My light has just been lit, and I'm not going to back down when so many of these illegal immigrants have more rights than we do. My son's death will not be ignored as another statistic. I want laws to change that would not allow illegal immigrants to purchase vehicles in our country and register them to drive in our states without first having a driver's license to drive them legally. Gosh, that's just common sense. How is it this is happening? She writes, I want laws changed that will force the removal of illegal immigrants who break our laws. This man, this repeated lawbreaker, was allowed to be released, and he continued breaking the laws in our country until what? Until he was stopped by my son in a head-on collision that never should have happened. He killed an officer of the law as his last act on earth. When are you going to see the flip side to this issue? When will you realize the hurt and pain and destruction these illegal immigrants who break the law will continue to cause? Until you live in a state that deals with this on a daily basis, you will not understand it. I want answers that make sense. I want answers from you personally as to why this criminal was allowed to stay in our country until he took my son's life. Sincerely, Mary Ann Mendoza. And in honor of your son, the world is a little dimmer place because he was lost. So now, Bert, I will lean on you to let me know when Miss Mendoza calls in, and you will patch her through to the program. And if you're tuned in, Miss Mendoza, the number again is 866-928-3310. I'll be with you guys in 1 second. Get this text off. Make sure I didn't give out the wrong phone number. Okay, so Bert, we'll just be waiting on you to let us know when Miss Mendoza dials in, and we'll be prepared to speak with her. Now, I did put in the text, in the tweet, 1 p.m. EDT. So hopefully that second, I'm going to message her back just to make sure. Oh, perhaps Bert has not been given the proper authority to patch a call through yet. Let me do that on my board over here. Oh, Bert's not logged in yet. Okay. And then I set off tweet to Bert, or a little message to Bert. No, hold off, Sebastian. Let me get a call in first here from Alright, here's what we'll do. I think Bert's getting logged in so that he'll be able to patch the phone call through. He or Leslie, either one. And in the meantime, as we're waiting, we'll take a look at our Concierge Trade Alerts from last night to pass the time. Okay, Miss Mendoza says she is on the phone but can't hear us. Bert, are you... Let me put you guys on hold just 1 second. Hey Bert, what's up?
She's in. My phone's dead, so I can't text you. So she's in.
But she's in, but... Oh, did she not call in? Did she log
No,
in?
she called in. Maybe I'm not as a panelist anymore. Maybe I'm in as a guest. You see me in
Okay,
the audience?
let me find you in the audience. You should be in. Bert, okay. Let me make Bert an organizer. Okay, I made you an organizer.
Alright, so she's in, so she can...
Now you can patch her right in?
Yeah, she's already patched in, I think.
Okay, beautiful. All right, just a little technical snafu there. I hadn't given Bert the authority as of yet to patch the call through. So we'll have Miss Mendoza here in just a moment. If Bert gets it right. And then if he doesn't, he'll go find Leslie and she'll patch the call through. So Marianne, please hold on. Please be patient.
Unmute.
Okay, I finally got Bert's phone unmuted. That was my fault. Now, it was always,
Oh, okay.
it's always.
Can you
my
hear us
fault.
now?
Yes, Leslie, I can hear you just fine.
Oh, okay. Mrs. Mendoza?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Good deal. Thank you so much.
Marianne, thank you
Hi.
so much for taking the time to come on and spend a few minutes with us today. We're located here in Phoenix, and I have just finished reading an article that was written by CBS 5, and this was written, gosh, back July 9th, 2014. And I also read in its entirety the letter that you wrote to President Obama. First, I want to extend my condolences on behalf of our audience, on behalf of our country, on behalf of our nation.
Thank you.
And I would just like to hear if President Obama ever reached out to you.
No, I actually wrote 2 letters to him, and I never heard anything back from him.
Not a word.
And no. And in July of 2015, I was in Washington, D.C., and he was aware that we were in the area and didn't invite us to the White House. We were there for the Kate Steinle hearings, and he was entertaining illegal students and illegal teachers. They were having them there for a luncheon at the White House.
Was this part of the
And-
DREAM Act?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, and my son was a very intricate part of a community. He was given a project by the Mesa Police Chief to clean up a whole South Side neighborhood that was overrun with drug dealers, and the neighborhood park was just, homeless people were living there, drug dealers were living there, dealing drugs, and he got rid of all the drug dealers out of the area, got the homeless people into shelters, got the park completely cleaned up. You drive by that park now, and you can't even believe the difference. It's a family park again, and there's still a memorial set up at the park for my son. The women in the area make sure that there's always, nice fresh flowers and an American flag and pictures of my son, and he was just loved by so many people. It was a huge loss, not only to me personally and my family, but to the community.
Now, on our radio program, it is possible for our audience to log in, and I'm showing a page right now to the viewers who are actually logged in, the Sergeant Brandon Mendoza Memorial Foundation. Change in the community starts with you, keeping Brandon's dreams and legacy alive one day at a time. Tell us a little about this.
Well, my son, he had started an annual Thanksgiving dinner down in the area. He would buy gifts for the children at Christmas out of his own pocket. He would go down on his days off and play soccer with the children in the park and buy them Dairy Queen treats. He would have pizza parties in the park for the children. So when this happened and so many of the children approached me and were crying, and what are we going to do? Who's going to take care of us? And I just thought, I can't let the community down. And so I worked with the Grant Woods Boys and Girls Club in Mesa, Arizona to continue the Thanksgiving dinner in his honor. It's now named the Mendoza Thanksgiving Dinner. We fed 650 people last year. I have an annual softball tournament that this November will be our second one, and I have a golf tournament in the spring that I'm raising money. I spent like $2,000 on new playground equipment for the Boys and Girls Club, which is something Brandon would have been doing.
Out of his own pocket.
Well, he would help. He would get people to fundraise, and a lot of money came out of his own pocket. But I want to provide scholarships for the children in the area. I want to provide a scholarship for the Mesa Police Explorer program, because that's how he got started in law enforcement. So I just want to make sure that his name stays in the community and people know that, his family still cares about what he was doing, and we still care about the community, and his legacy will live on through us.
At the bottom of the page, sergeantbrandonmendoza.org, I see contact us, golf tournament, community involvement, Mendoza Ball Field. What's the best way for folks in our audience who want to be a part of the work that you're doing, who want to participate, whether it's with time and labor or with cash donations? What's the best way for them to go about that?
There is a donate link there on the website.
Okay.
But if people are local, they can contact me through the website, send me an email, and I will definitely be in touch with them. We're always looking for volunteers for the Thanksgiving dinner and, to help out at the ball tournament and the golf tournament. So any help, and there'll be more things that I'll be adding to this as our funds grow, because we're pretty much a grassroots program right now and getting it all off the ground. So, but I'm helping however I can. I've had people in the community donate used and new sporting goods that I take to the Boys and Girls Club, because Brennan did that. He set boxes up at all the police substations and had his fellow officers contribute used and new sporting equipment. So I do that. People have donated to the Boys and Girls Club to provide scholarships for the kids to attend there after school, so that they're not out on the streets. When their parents are working, they have a place to go. It's a great Boys and Girls Club. So,
well, I'll tell you, number one, I believe so strongly in exactly what you believe in, and we are going to take on the Sergeant Brandon Mendoza Memorial Foundation as a special project here at our radio station, CFRN. So we will be in touch with you, and we will be encouraging our audience to participate. I've extended my condolences. I now would like to talk just a little bit with you, as much time as you have, about this problem that is plaguing America, and what are we going to do about it? I know you've had to, over time, the time that's passed, is a wall going to do it? What's it going to take to make sure this never happens again?
Well, it's not never going to happen again. Since my son's death, there have been thousands more killed. There's a guesstimate that anywhere from 15 to 20 Americans a day get killed by illegal criminals. And that is my biggest concern, is getting the criminal element out of our country. Because, first of all, you're already a criminal because you're here illegally.
Right.
And once you commit another crime, once you've committed a crime, you're now a repeat offender. And I've seen too many times where the courts show them leniency, and that's exactly what happened to my son's killer. He had assaulted a police officer, committed burglary, he had conspiracy to commit fraud, and he didn't show up for his court date, and he was back and forth across the border. And they finally apprehended him, took him back up to Colorado to face his charges, and the court showed him leniency and let him go, just back out onto our streets to roam the streets. And he ended up down here in Arizona, 3 times the legal limit drunk, high on meth, fighting with his wife, and ended up driving 35 miles the wrong way on 4 different freeways before slamming head-on into my son on his way home from work. And there's so many of these stories that happen, and unfortunately, mainstream media in America does not want to point out that these perpetrators are illegal aliens. And that's the sad thing, because they want to keep this all under wraps. And I believe in Donald Trump. I believe that he's going to secure our borders. What a lot of people don't know, too, in talking with Border Patrol agents, we don't need a wall completely across the border. Some areas need a wall where it's more heavily populated on the other side of the border. Some need double fencing. Some, because of natural terrain, don't need fencing at all. The Border Patrol has said we need sensors along those areas where there's no, it's just desolate, and that if anybody would cross in that area, the Border Patrol could be there in 15 minutes. So there's a logical way to secure our borders and make sure that these criminals who are deported don't come back over, just stroll over the border and come back to just do it again.
Do you believe that Donald will be able to do the job once elected?
Absolutely. He is the only politician who has stated this, who has talked about it, who has made people aware of it. When I was on my way to the convention, I was on a plane next to a California delegate who said, I've only heard about Kate Steinle. People on the East Coast, delegates from the East Coast, after I spoke at the convention, told me, your story is so compelling. We didn't even know this was going on. We are in the East Coast. We don't know about this sort of thing. So the American people are kept in the dark about this, and the fact that they had illegal dreamers on their stage at the Democratic convention last night just made my blood boil because, number one, they broke the law harboring illegals, number one, and they're parading it in front of us. Like, we're doing this, we don't care what the laws are in this country, and we're just going to have them here speaking. They talk about being separated from their families, and they're crying on stage, and it's such a, emotional story. Well, guess what? I'm separated from my son for life. I don't have the option of picking up a phone and calling him. I don't have the option of going with him back across the border if I was here illegally and living my life with my son. These people have the option to stay together as a family unit. They made the decision to come here illegally, and the consequences that they're facing is because of their actions, not because we are terrible, racist, disgusting people. There's not a whole lot of other countries that will allow people to come in. And by the way,
don't go to Mexico and not have the proper paperwork, because you will wind up in jail, and quick.
Exactly. And Mexico deports more illegals annually than the United States does. It's a felony to be in their country illegally. They have a wall along their border with Guatemala to keep South Americans out of their country. So it's do as I say, not as we do. Let our people come to your country, because the remittance money, the money that these illegals are making, and a lot of it's cash under the table, is going back across the border to stimulate the Mexican economy. So they don't want that money train to end.
Jobs
and the American dream,
lost in America.
Right. And the dreamers that are here, I've been speaking about this on Sean Hannity last night and Barney and Company this morning. They will get $6,000 each to attend college every year, which will cost the American taxpayers $6.2 billion. And once they have attended college for 2 years, they will get permanent legal status in this country. And these are the things that the Democratic Party does not tell you about on stage. They just have a little girl come out and make you cry because she's afraid. There was somebody, I read in an article, he was a dreamer and said, I took all my I took all my sister's identity to get a job. So now she applies for the DREAM Act, and she's applying under her real name. Had she committed any crimes under her sister's name, it wouldn't show up on her application. We have no way of tracking the crimes that these people commit because of identity theft. And there's 10.5 million Americans under the age of 35 who have dropped out of college because they can't afford tuition. But the Democratic Party and Obama wants to support us educating these illegal people. And where do you think the jobs are going to be going in 4, 5, 6 years? They're not going to be going to uneducated Americans. They're going to be going to educated illegals in this country.
Educated illegals, or if Donald does not make it to the Oval Office, they're going to be sent across the border. And I love his policy that he has, and I pray that when he's elected, two, that he stands on the policy that if you're an American company and you ship your cheap jobs south of the border or anywhere else in the world, when you try to bring those products back into America, you're going to be taxed, and you're going to be taxed heavily. It is.
I know.
And as much as I am a geek and use Google products and Apple products, and I'm a tech head, the fact that Google buries money offshore, all of it, billions, and Apple, and they can afford the attorneys and the accountants between Ireland and the other country that they use, billions of dollars, billions upon. Apple has more money in the bank than, well, America doesn't have any money in the bank because we're basically bankrupt.
Exactly.
Trillions of dollars in debt. Where on the other hand, Apple has an ungodly sum of money in the bank, just not in our banks here in America, not paying taxes on that money because of the way they have legally organized and strategized their business structure, something that ordinary citizens can't afford to do. We can't afford those types of accountants and attorneys, and also we don't have that much money, many of us, to warrant paying the attorneys and the accountants. And Donald Trump says he's going to close those loopholes. And we as the American people, first we have to get him elected, and then we have to hold him to his promise. And you know what? I think he's serious. I really believe he doesn't care what people think. He says what he thinks, and often I think he speaks without thinking, but by golly, enough of this political correctness, enough of the garbage that got us in the trouble that we're in. It's time somebody stood up and straightened America out.
Right. I just want to say a few more things that I don't even think that the public is aware of. In 2012, Obama ordered the federal immigration officers to release illegal aliens that they had arrested for violent crimes if they claimed that they were dreamers. And this has been going on since 2012. And they know they can get out of being deported and being charged with crimes because they just say, well, I'm a dreamer. And there was an illegal alien facing multiple violent criminal charges in El Paso and was released under this policy without any questions. There was no investigation, and he was ordered freed because Homeland Security officials told Border Patrol, he's a dreamer, release him. And these are the policies that are compromising public safety under the guise of being a dreamer. So, you know, I plead with anybody who's listening to this show to get on the internet and look up the DREAM Act and, you know, get a full understanding of what these liberal politicians are trying to pull out in Washington by just, like I said earlier, just parading a little girl on stage and crying because she's afraid. And that's all that you remember in your mind about the DREAM Act. You have no clue all of the verbiage and all of the things that they sneak into things right under our noses. And, you know, since my son's death, I have educated myself so much on this illegal situation. When I wrote the letter to President Obama, I had no clue the magnitude of people killed in the United States by illegals. And when I started researching it, I thought, I can't keep my mouth shut. I can't stand down. I have to make sure that Americans understand the trouble we're in. It's frightening. And then to add on top of it, the Syrian refugees that they want to bring in, you know, Hillary's claimed that, you know, the million Syrian refugees that she wants to come into this country, well, out of 1,000, there may be one jihadist coming in this country, but the rest of them are safe. Well, when you allow 1 million people into this country and 1 out of 1,000 could be a danger to us, that's 1,000 jihadists that you're allowing into this country. Yeah, and they're just swinging the doors open and saying, come on in.
And it only takes one.
You know,
one jihadist.
Look at what's happening in France.
With a dirty bomb can do damage unspeakable that I don't even want to bring up on this radio show. God forbid we put ideas in people's minds. But this policy, and Angela Merkel has learned her lesson. She took the center stage and says, oh, we're going to just throw our doors open and everybody can come. And, you know, it's one thing to be magnanimous and say, oh, you can come into my country. But when they start moving up, living in your house, telling you what to do, suddenly you're not so happy to have them there.
Right.
Switzerland, much of the history there is being destroyed. Old castles that were part of the UNESCO project they've become like slums. They've turned them into slums. This is what happens when you allow people, and you don't see a lot of women and children when you see pictures of these migrants. I see young, healthy men who should be fighting for their country, and I hear them on TV complaining because the internet's lousy, they don't have any cigarettes, and the one comment that I'll never forget, it was a he, and he said, the food is horrible. I wouldn't even feed it to a woman.
Yeah, I want those kind of people in the United States. Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
this-
and I heard of a case where a Syrian family has been relocated here. It's a wife and a husband, and I think they have 10 children, and the grandparents are living with them, and they're on all kinds. They're getting all kinds of money because the amount of people that are in the family, and they want to have another baby, and she can't get pregnant. They're suing the federal government in the United States because they want to have the fertility treatment so that she's able to get pregnant again. And even
on our dime.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the illegals that come here, and the Border Patrol in Arizona has been told, if you stop a drunk illegal driving, just let them go, because they've been threatening to sue the law enforcement, the sheriff's office, and so let them go. And when they drive down the street and then kill an American citizen, okay, then we can do something about them. How has this country turned into a place where we allow illegal citizens to sue our law enforcement for upholding the laws, or to sue our federal government because they won't provide a college education for them, how is it possible that illegals can sue law enforcement and our courts and our federal government? How is it? So the supposedly dark speech that Mr. Trump gave, which I felt was very uplifting and hopeful, our country is in trouble. And the Democrats want to make you believe this country's just hunky-dory because, they just want us all to be puppets and go along with their little puppet show. And America's waking up because of Mr. Trump. And he's the first politician or the first person running for president that I have ever been this excited about since Ronald Reagan.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. The first time Barack Obama ran, I got excited about Mike Huckabee. I also am a pastor. I'm not a Sunday morning practicing pastor, but I am ordained. And because Huckabee was a pastor, and I just had so much respect for him. And at the time, I thought he could be president. But in the time that's passed, as I've got to know him via his television show, I have to say, as much as I like him and respect him, I don't believe he is the man for the job at this point in time. I think perhaps too much damage has been done. And we need someone who really will stand up, who won't back down. A Donald Trump, I hope. His family that surrounds him. What a beautiful family.
Yeah.
They don't drink, they don't smoke, they live clean lives. Yes, some people have arguments or complaints with somehow that some of his businesses have failed, and he had to seek bankruptcy protection for the businesses, not personal bankruptcy. You know what? That's American law, and business are allowed to get a second chance, and even Americans are allowed a second chance if they find themselves in that situation. Now, what I don't condone is reckless spending, and that's what this administration has been guilty of for the past 8 years, spending with reckless abandon, showing up at treasury auctions, buying our own bonds to keep us pumped up in the world's eye. And you know what? There comes a time when the hour draws late and the band wants to go home, and you gotta pay the band. And the Chinese have made it clear. They've loaned us an awful lot of money, and we can scarcely keep up with the interest, and they've made it clear we want our money. We know you don't have it at the moment, but make no mistake, we want our money back. They have the largest standing army in the world, and our current administration wants to just continue to slim down our military.
Right.
Donald says if he takes office, we're at 1940 levels right now with troops, with equipment, and Donald Trump says he's going to turn that around, that he's going to put money back into defense spending where it should be. I have a nephew. I'm so proud of. I have a niece who went to Afghanistan twice. She weighs all of 90 pounds, soaking wet with her, backpack on. God bless her. She encouraged me so much. I have a nephew who is now flying. He's 21 years old, 22. He's my godson. He's flying for the United States Air Force. Got his pilot's license. Just a good kid, good American kid. A young man like your son, who has never got in trouble, worked hard, got good grades in school, was involved in athletics, and then went right into the military. They put him through college, and now he's flying airplanes for the U.S. government.
Well, thank both of them for me personally for their service.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I have a son who's in the Army also. I have a son in the Army. He's been to Iraq twice and Turkey and.
Wow, Turkey. That's a tough place.
Yeah. He's been in for 14 years now. So I had two boys who were dedicated to the community, to the country. So
is he going to stay until is he going to make it a career, a retirement?
Yes, absolutely.
I would think so, with that many years in already. And, I joined the military at 17. On my 17th birthday, I had my mom down at the recruiters signing on the dotted line. My life plan was to retire at 37, this is back when the military had slightly better benefits than they have today. If you retired, I could retire at 37, have a monthly check for the rest of my life, health insurance for the rest of my life. But being 17 and not as intelligent as I am today, I made some poor decisions, and I decided I really didn't want to be in the military, and so when my time was up, I got out. And looking back as a man of a certain age, I wish I had stayed in.
Yeah.
It would have sure made a difference in my life to know that check was going to come every month in the mail, and that our health insurance now, my wife and I, because we don't qualify for the Affordable Health Care Act, we have to go outside of the exchange to get our insurance. We pay $11, and we're in good health by the grace of God. We adopted late in life, so we have children, an 8-year-old and a 14-year-old, but the state covers them until they're 21 if they go to college. But just for my wife and I, we pay $1,100 a month, and on top of that, there's a $5,000 a year deductible. So we literally have to pay $17,000 a year before we can get a free Band-Aid. Now, how is that affordable health care?
I know.
And it's not that we didn't shop. It's not that we didn't try. In fact, my nephew is our insurance agent. So, he got me the best deal he could get me. Because, sadly, I made too much money to qualify for the deal. And trust me, I'm not a rich man, okay? But by their standards, I made too much, and so I had to pay. I had to pay for all the people who couldn't afford to pay. But the number of people who are without health insurance, if we had all pitched in just a penny or a pence, we could have provided health insurance for those folks who didn't have any. My brother was one of those people. He's since passed away. And we wouldn't be in this medical mess that we're in right now. So I certainly hope that the president will, as promised, be able to straighten that out. And this bloated IRS code, hopefully he's promised to do something about that. I pray that he will.
Well, you know, when you have somebody like Mr. Trump, who's been such a successful businessman, he has a business sense about him, and it's the business in America that is really hurting our economy, and the things that have happened in the last 8 years. You know, the executive orders that come over his desk and the things that he just decides that he's going to do, the DREAM Act, the everything. So I think when you have a successful businessman like Donald Trump, who has a good head on his shoulders about, you know, having things done in the fastest way possible and cutting the cost and doing everything that he does for himself, that's the kind of person I would prefer to have, you know, in the Oval Office in Washington, D.C. versus Hillary Clinton, who has lied under oath and has left a trail of dead bodies in her and her husband's wake. I don't understand how anybody can believe a word that comes out of her mouth. And, you know, the amount of money that they accept from foreign countries, you know, into their foundation, and the amount of wealth that they have. And I think that they have just gotten so far in life with doing the bad things that they do, and they get away with it, that she just doesn't think there's anything that's going to step in her way on her way to the White House. And if that would happen, you know,
have you seen
you can
the
kiss
movie
America goodbye.
that came out this weekend, Hillary's America?
No, because I was at the convention, so
Okay. Well,
I just got back. So yeah,
when
I'm
you
planning
have
to see it this week for
when
sure.
you have a chance, do. And keep in mind that there's some dramatic license involved, but
Right.
the core of it is it'll curl your hair even if you're bald. And before I went to the movie, I was sent an email by a member of our audience. He said, "Hey, watch this video about the Clintons. One of the Secret Service wrote a book, and Crisis of Conscience, I think it's called." So I watched the video that he sent, and it was about how they were always covering up the arguments and fights that the Clintons had. And I was at my desk working. I left my headphones on, and if you're on a YouTube channel, when a video ends, if you sit there long enough, the next one in line kicks in. Now the next one in line that kicked in, now that one really curled my hair. I had no idea about this. I knew that Bill, you know, throughout his career had had many girlfriends and dalliances and flings and whatnot, but I did not know that there is a Bill Cosby side to him. There's a book that just came out. 24 women have admitted that they were forcibly raped. Now people go, well, wait a minute, Bill's not running for president. No, but the book says that she was point man, and that she was instrumental in covering up and hushing up all of these women. But this author, he has talked 24 of the women into coming forward and telling the truth. And I believe that Mr. Trump will use this as we get closer and closer to November. I see that my wife just logged in. I'm going to open. She would love to speak to you for just a second and say hello. She's without a mic, but I think her computer is going to work without a mic. So let me give her a try. Okay.
Hello.
We can hear you. We can hear everything's fine. Marianne, meet my wife, Anne Marie.
Good. Hello, Anne Marie.
Hi, Marianne. I love your name. It's just like mine. Ha ha.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you and for the way that you are dealing with this horrible tragedy in your family. I think you can tell it makes me want to cry. It really does. But you're dealing with it better than I am, and I'm continue on his legacy. It's amazing. It's amazing that you're able to get up and go and do all of these things, and I'm just so proud of you. And I agree with you wholeheartedly on every single thing that you've said. And I love that you're willing to get out there and take your time to go to the convention and different places, and yet even to sit through that Democratic convention. Why, that takes a saint. My goodness.
Well, I'm just watching that one on TV, the Democratic one. There's no way I could be there.
Oh my gosh.
I wouldn't be able to sit through theirs at all. I mean, it's hard enough having to watch it on TV, but you know, this is the relationship that my son and I had. We were very, very close, and he was the kind of son that invited me to dinner with his friends, to Halloween parties he had at his house. We traveled together. So I lost a best friend too, you know, when he was taken from me. But if this had happened to me, my son would be fighting for me the same way that I'm fighting for him. And so, you know, I did have a choice to curl up in a fetal position and just check out of life and not even care anymore, or fight for my son whose life meant so much to so many people. And I've chosen to honor him in this way versus to become, you know, a silent voice and not have his story told. So believe it or not, some of the other parents who have lost children in the way that Sabina and I have, hearing us speak and seeing us be on TV has actually started giving them the courage to go out and start speaking in their community. So this is a huge, you know, thing that we have other parents joining us, because it's not just Sabina and I. There's thousands of people who have lost loved ones in this country. So the more voices that we can get out there, fresh faces, so that people just don't think that it's a two-woman show or, you know, with Jamil, a three-person show. There's just more power in numbers. And unfortunately, you know, there's power in these kind of numbers by people being killed. But again, getting the word out to America is what all of us want to do to spare any other family from going through this pain. So,
well, I have to say that, you know, it's not even just about people getting killed, because I personally have experienced a hit-and-run accident by an illegal who I was able to follow home and call the police on, and when the police arrived, they did absolutely nothing. The girl was 17 years old, had no insurance, no registration, illegally in the country with her mother.
Don't leave out the scantily clad part.
Oh, okay, yeah, she was scantily clad. But hey, you know, but that can affect the police. Some of the police officers, you know, they might just be being nice because she was good looking. I don't know. I don't think so, though. I just was so shocked that nothing would happen. And then again, one of our employees, his pregnant wife was hit by an illegal, and they again let this guy go. I mean, they just and we live in Arizona, where there's just tons of illegal people here.
She's in Mesa herself.
I know, and I personally am part Latino, and the girl that was hit was Mexican, but a Mexican American, you know, here because her family took time to come here legally. And I love the Mexican people, and I love the people from other countries, but I do not feel that it's fair for people to come here illegally, and they are actually committing crimes even to be here. That's a crime here. And so our government and Mr. Obama want to act like, well, you know, it's so bad in their country. No. They're coming here. They're taking our money, sending it home. They're not adding into the economy. Half of them steal people's identities and Social Security cards, and then to add fuel to the fire, like Bank of America, I don't know if I should even say this, but I stopped doing business with them years ago because they would allow illegal people to have a bank account with absolutely no identification of any kind, where I practically have to give over my firstborn child in order to get an account in their bank. So now
I witnessed that myself. I witnessed that in a Bank of America, and I purposely went over and talked to a banker and said, I want to open an account. And the first thing they asked me for was, fill out this application. It was a Social Security number, and I said, I don't have one. They said, well, you can't open an account. And so I said, I want to talk to your manager. I know exactly what you're saying.
How did that end up? How did that discussion with the bank manager, where did it go?
She just said, this is the way that we handle things with them, and do you want to open an account here or not? She wanted to just get rid of me because she didn't really want to have to answer the questions. Right. And I made a call to the upper in there, and of course I never heard back from anybody there either.
No, the people that actually work in the bank don't have a say over any of it. It's, I guess, a court policy. But then the other thing is that even though they changed the I think legally they changed at least the wording of the benefits for illegal immigrants, they are still able to get medical, dental, and all these other things paid for by us. Now, I mean, nobody paid for your child's teeth and medical. And I mean, it's just a slap in the face. It's just, and it's not. And remember,
I've made a point of calling them illegal aliens because if you're an immigrant, you've either come here legally or you've started the paperwork to become legal.
Exactly.
They don't do that.
And what I've found is that most people that are here legally, well, I don't know if it's most anymore, but it used to be most people, were really up in arms about people coming here illegally because they took the time and spent the years that it took. And no, it's not an easy process for people a lot of the time, but, it makes it more valuable. I mean,
when you become a legal immigrant, you have to agree to never accept welfare, food stamps, any of the government programs, and so why would any of them want to become legal?
Well, right, and they
would miss out on all their benefits.
Like the Muslim people, they don't want to integrate a lot of them, and I'm not saying all Muslims are like that, but many want to stay in their own communities and not really become American people, and that the problem with like particularly the south of the border type of immigrants is they don't even want to learn the language. I mean, it's I'm very sad about that, and I have to say my husband and I own a property that in Mexico that is used as it's a youth group, a Christian youth group, so we Mexican people, we love them, but I am not happy having people that come into my country illegally when if I did crime, I would be arrested. They're not arrested.
Right. Exactly.
You spoke about banks there for a moment, and I won't hold you too much longer because I promise to keep this short. But have you attempted to take any money out of the bank lately? They get real funny about you taking. If you go in and say, "I need to take some cash out," I mean, if you want $50, they can go with that. But if you add a couple of zeros to that, they start to look at you very strangely and ask some very unusual questions, and you feel like you're in Cold War Russia.
It's just, and when stuff like that happens, me personally, I start thinking, when anything out of the ordinary starts happening, I think, what is our government latching onto or investigating or keeping an eye on now? I just don't trust any of them in Washington, and we need fresh blood, and it's Republicans and Democrats alike. It's the good old boys in Washington, and it's time for a change to where this country's run the way that it was set up to run, not because of special interests and people lining their pockets and doing things with hidden agendas. It needs to be on the up and up with an honest person in the White House who doesn't care if he's politically correct because he's telling the truth. That is what my hope is for this country.
And who pretty much funds himself. He doesn't have to be ashamed of the fact that he's a rich person like Mrs. Clinton does. I mean, she's You're talking about how, this unfair distribution of wealth for her and Bernie Sanders, and yet they're rich. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, but Donald earned his money. Yes, he inherited some, but he took that and he parlayed it and he worked hard. He goes out to the construction sites. He walks. He talks to the painters, to the engineers, and he is his son the other night, I think, put it very well, a blue collar billionaire, whereas Miss Clinton, quite the opposite. You start to ask her about where her money came from. I mean, one of her last speeches, I believe, and someone can correct me, but was in Brunei. Now, she is the woman's candidate, but she spoke in Brunei for a very hefty sum of money. And this is a country which ritually abuses women. Genital mutilation, you name it, they do it. Women are not second-class citizens, third-class citizens. They aren't even citizens. They are property. And yet she has the audacity to proclaim herself the woman's candidate.
Just about everything she says is a lie. So I mean, it's not hard to, why she says these things, because she has a hidden agenda. And one other thing about Mr. Trump is that I've lived in New York, and people get so up in arms about his brash and crass way of communicating, but that's the way a lot of people in New York are. And they're just very down to earth and say what they think. And, I think sometimes he should, put a little filter on it, but regardless, at least I know where he's really coming from. I know what he's really thinking. I don't have to sit there and try to figure out if he's being genuine or not.
Well, and I think from his acceptance speech on Thursday, it's showing, a calm down, more presidential type of person who's speaking now, and
absolutely, absolutely,
he's touching more on, the really important issues, and he's not in a fight for the for the nomination for the Republican Party. So I think that part of him's gone, and I think he's really going to be concentrating on, becoming the person that everybody can listen to. And I've often said, I just wish we didn't have Republican and Democrat labels on us. I wish it was just Americans, and here's two people running for president, and listen to their stories, because so many people have a closed mind the minute they hear Republican or the minute they hear Democrat.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And, if it was just an open forum where here are two people running for our president, I think more people would be open to a message instead of so closed-minded because of a title.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of it being a presidential election this time of us voting for who we love, it's voting for who we hate the less. And that's not what America was built on. And I don't know how it came to be this way. And I'm sorry that it has. But I thank you for taking the time, Marianne, to come on the show today. Thank you for inviting me. I hope you'll become a friend of the show. We certainly want to become a part of the Mendoza Memorial Foundation, whether we can volunteer our time or anything that you may need. Please be in touch with us, and hopefully before the election in November, we'll have a chance to have you back on the show and talk with you again.
I would appreciate that, and thank you for your support. I really, truly appreciate it.
You're welcome. And again, a lot of my audience is typing into the chat box, and they just all want me to offer you their condolences, and their hearts and their prayers are with you.
Thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful day.
You too. God bless.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, guys. The Sergeant Brandon Mendoza Memorial Foundation. Write that name down. Google it. Read the letter that I read you. The one that she wrote to the president. That, by the way, he didn't answer. And when she was in Washington, D.C., he didn't invite her to the White House. No, he invited the Dreamers. Now, if you don't get out and vote in November, you may not be crazy about Mr. Trump. That's okay. But remember this, if you don't vote for him, it's the same as if you voted for her. So, for some, it will become, which is the lesser of two evils. If that's the way you want to look at it, okay. I think it's pretty obvious what the answer is. But I truly believe that Donald Trump has some good things to bring to America. He has run a business. He has put his name on the front of a paycheck, not just on the back. And I'm going to tell you something. When you lay awake in bed on Thursday night, kicking the covers, hoping that enough money's going to come in on Friday morning, when you go to that mailbox to make your payroll, there's no feeling like that. It's terror, it's fear, but it also builds your faith in God. And you pray your way to that mailbox, and you open that P.O. box, and you know what? Over all the years and over all the employees, never once, by the grace of God, did we miss a payroll. Sometimes it was close. Sometimes I didn't cash my check. But God was faithful. And if you are running a small business, if you have dreams of becoming an entrepreneur, if you want to make a difference in this world, there is only one candidate that makes any sense whatsoever. And you know that candidate is Donald Trump. All right, we're going to switch out of our political gears here. I know some of you are not political folk, and you're here for the Christian and the financial part, and so we've had our good word for the day. We're going to move into the financial part. I've talked a little bit about the S&P 500 Emini Futures already. Let's take a look at, real quick, yesterday the trade alert, or the one that went out Sunday night, was to sell 62. Took us all the way down to a swing low at 56.50. So let's round that up. 56.50, let's take it up to 57. So that's a 5-point move. If you traded it zone to zone, it's a 7-point move. And a 7-point move back up. Okay? And then our radio trade yesterday, consider buying 61. Okay, if you bought 61, weekly trading zone, overhead target. And there it is. Okay. Now that zone, normally I don't give out the zones to the general public this early in the week, but I felt this was somewhat of a special week, and I got the keys, so I could do that. Alright. Now if I can just get this lined up. Oh, that should be 64. Let's take it down a notch. And this needs to be, oh, that needs to be 65. Let's take it up a notch. Okay, we're not going to get it perfect, but we're going to get it pretty close. Okay, and here, 2164. That's just right on the money. So, buying 61, up to the zone, buying 61, up to the zone. Have I not told you buying 61 up to the zone? Important prices and important areas are almost always tested. This was our first buy 61, missed the zone by just a tick. By 61 again to the zone, by 61 again to the zone, by 61 again to the zone. Now that's 7 from, let's see, the number here is 60. Now these are smaller numbers because these aren't full zone to zone moves, but this is 2164. So we've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 plus 21. Okay? Since I last spoke to you on the radio yesterday, zone to zone to zone to zone. If you're a partner, hopefully you're learning how to put the zones to work. If you're on a trial and have not yet become a partner, the weekly trading zones will come to you each and every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. That gives you time to get your zones on your charts, get everything set up and ready to go before Wall Street even wakes up. Now let's grab this one and see if we can pull it straight across. It's going to be a challenge, I won't kid you. When it turns green, that's when it's draggable. We're just going to keep dragging. No, typically that's not how I do the zones, but this week I did, just by putting this here is 56, 57, and this is 64, 65. Okay, now let's get up to speed with last night's Concierge Trade Alerts. And here they are. No, here they are. No, here they are. Alright. S&P by 62. We already know that was a done deal because look at all the times the radio trade by 61. Sell 21.55, and that did, what's this low going to be here? 53.75. So you got 1 1/4 points there, selling 21.53. Okay, that's not the 2 points we typically look for, but at least it's an opportunity to be out at break even. Wait a minute. The alert said sell 21.55. Here we go. 21.55, right there. $21.55. Okay. Sell 21.55. All the booing that went on last night, because you talk about division in the Republican Party. Man, if you watched the Democratic convention last night, there's some big division going on. And of course you've heard the scandal that the Russians, I believe via Snowden, and okay, a good hacker doesn't leave footprints. These were intentional footprints left behind on the servers to let the U.S. government know who had been in their house while they weren't looking. So, do I think Eric Snowden had a hand in this? Maybe he did. I do believe that's where he is still at today. This came to us through WikiLeaks. The reason all of the Bernie Sanders candidates were so upset yesterday is because with the leak of these emails, it was evident from day one that they were never going to let Bernie be president. The DNC had already made up their mind that Hillary was going to be their candidate. So all the miles traveled, all the speeches given, all the doors knocked on, all the money donated was for nothing. I have respect today for Bernie Sanders, not because he's a socialist, not because of his political beliefs, but because he did what Ted Cruz was not man enough to do, and Ted Cruz did not get wronged in the way that Bernie Sanders was wronged. How do you think his constituents feel? The ones that donated big money, and they were throwing it down a dark hole. But yet Bernie Sanders stood up and said, I fully give my support to Hillary Clinton. And people wonder, how could you do that? You know how? It's called strength of character. That's right. Strength of character, which is a little bit the opposite, if I'm not mistaken, of the book written about Hillary Clinton called Crisis of Character, the one I've been quoting from the last couple days. Okay? Alright, so last night we were looking to sell 62. We already know that worked out numerous times. 62, the alerts went out at 6:30, so that's 18:30 military time right here. And so no selling 55 there, but you could sure buy 62, and it took you all the way up to 64.75. There's your daily goal. You were done for the day. First trade, boom. Back down, did it again, back down, and did it again. Alright, we can now move on to the Dow. That's a good question, Tom. Could Donald stir up so much trouble that he becomes a target like John F. Kennedy? I hate to say it, but the answer is yes. I hope he can be better protected. Although I don't believe Donald is a man who's going to allow himself to live in a perpetual state of fear. He's not going to not be in a parade. He's not going to not ride in a convertible. He's not going to not go out to dinner because of what the enemy has cooked up. He's going to live his life. I just pray that they put the very best of the best on his Secret Service detail. Him, his whole family, his staff, whoever needs it, whoever deserves it. All right, last night on the Dow, this was the deal. We were looking to buy 18,420 and sell 18,385, given the chance. You got the chance to buy 420, 27 points. We then had an opportunity on a number of occasions to buy 420. Here we have 32, that's 12 ticks. You only need 10, you only need 20 in the Dow to be done for the day. There you have 15. There you have 25. On the short side, 74. And one 30-minute candle, 74. Important prices, important areas are almost always tested. You hear me say it every day. You don't know if you can stand to hear me say it again. I can't stop saying it because someday or every day there's somebody new on the radio show. They need to understand that that is an incredibly important part of our trading strategy. The foreknowledge that important prices and important areas are almost always tested. So from 385, we made it down to a swing low of 340. So without my calculator, 385 to 340, that's 45 points. Again, trading the 2420 blueprint at $5 a point, you only need 20 points and you're done for the day. Now, when you're trading daytime hours like this, okay, let's look at these volume numbers on the Dow real quick, because I don't ever want you to rule the Dow out. 14. Now these are 30-minute candles, over 14,000 contracts, over 8,000, over 13,000, over 13,000, over 8,000, over 5,000. Okay? Don't be afraid of the Dow. Alex asks, where do you short a tick lower? Actually, on these, when the alert comes out and reads like this, sell 21.55, we actually put in an order to sell 21.55 on a stop, or buy 21.62 on a stop. I understand your question about the point, and going back a ways, there was a time when it read a bit different. It said, and I think it actually reads differently on the one trade a day, where it says consider being long above. If it ever says consider being long above 21.62, then that means the tick above 62. But when it simply says buy 21.62, then you buy 62 on the nose. You're very welcome. Glad you asked. Guys, anytime you have a question, don't hesitate to ask. The only person who sees what you type in the chat box are myself, Michael if he's around, Bert if he's around. Otherwise, oh, and my thanks to Bert and the whole gang for their assistance today with the interview with our special guest. They deserve a bell. Okay. Let's get a move on. Let's go to gold. We're just going to walk our way across the chart here. On gold, we were looking to buy 1321, sell 1318. Okay, so 1321, the first move up. $13.21 to $22.60. That's $160. $160 per contract available. Now I'm just going to write that whole thing out longhand one time. We're going to go shorthand on the rest of it for the sake of time. Okay. Next we pop up and we've got 2330. So that's $230 available. We never get out at the exact swing high or swing low because we trail our stop to tell us when to get out, or we use our indicators to tell us when to get out. Now, price got back below the trigger, fired again, okay? And so, can I space that and go to 20? I can. And then we hit 1324.40, so that's $340, yeah. But that's what the market made available. We make nothing available except the alerts. We teach you how to set your stops, we teach you how to trail your stops, we teach you when it's a good time to take your money and go somewhere else. But it is the market itself, a force that we do not have power over, nor do we try to pull your leg and convince you that we do in any way have power over the market. We simply trade what is in front of us based on the knowledge that we have. Now you'll see there's two little trades here that did the exact same thing. And so if I'm going to squeeze it in there, oh, I can do this. Okay, so from 21 up to 2160, I'll just do this because it's not much to shout about. 6 ticks. Okay, 6 ticks each. $10, $60, but if you're trading the 2420 blueprint, of course, then you're running a tighter stop. However, on the Concierge Trade Alerts, on the 1 trade a days, and on the daily doubles, we're going to be not locked into a hard stop, a fixed number. On the daily double, if you're not familiar yet with the daily double, I know many of you already are and have already got signed up, and I'm going to be getting back to you this afternoon with your channel to receive your trades. Go to emini.cfrn.net, and in the upper left hand corner You'll see Daily Double. Read through it. If you don't understand it, give me a call. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is an app that you can put on your smartphone, Apple or Android. You can put it on your Windows computer. You can put it on your Mac. And what will happen is twice a day you'll hear what sounds like an old-timey telegraph. You'll check your phone or your computer. If you're away from the office, you just check your phone. There'll be a trade. You open the Telegram app, you'll have a trade. It will give you the entry, the target, and the stop. Jot it down. Open up your broker's mobile app and simply place the trade. Now, these are trades that, unlike Concierge Trade Alerts or the one trade a days, which can sometimes, take some time to trigger, these will have a tendency to potentially trigger a little quicker. Give yourself about a 5 to 10 minute time frame to hear your phone go off, or if you're at your desktop, you can just do everything from your desktop. Read the trade on your desktop and place the trade on your desktop. But if you're away from the office, away from anywhere near your computer, your phone sounds like a telegram. Yeah, pop it open, tells you what to trade or what the trade is. We don't tell you to trade. This isn't a recommendation to buy or sell any security. You simply open your phone, read the trade, and if you choose that it's in your best interest to take such trade, then open your broker's app, no indicators required, and place a simple buy or sell order, and be sure to use the hard stop recommended. And as far as the target, I'm going to provide you with a hard target. I tend to be cautious. If you choose to trail your target, that will be up to you, but it's very important that you always use the hard stop. Now again, emini.cfrn.net. Upper left hand corner, you'll see Daily Double, and click the little dotted line and it'll open up and you'll be able to read the whole thing. This is a beta test. The beta test will run for 1 week. When we roll out the finished product, there will be limited seating in the beginning till we expand our facility. And so those who want to be guaranteed a spot in the finished product when it rolls out in a week, not in 3 years. I know we did a beta test for 3 years once, but this is a 1 week beta test. When this beta test is finished, we will roll out the finished product. We've been working on it for some time, and those who participated in the beta test will be given first right of refusal, first option, first dibs at a seat at the table of the finished product. Okay? Now, all you need to do is, once you have followed the instructions on that post, send an email. I downloaded the app, at which point I'll send you our handle and our secret channel so that when the trades start to flow, you'll be the first to know. Okay? All right. So we had on the long side several opportunities here from 21 up to 22.30. So that's another $130 per contract. Maximum available, which means you didn't get it all. 130, okay. Then on the short side, we had a drop here to $13.60. So let's make it $13.14. So that's $400 per contract. 400 per. Okay. And then important prices, important areas, and this time we dropped to 1460. Call it 15. Call it $300. Okay. And here, you know what you call that? The truth about trading. Sometimes you get stopped out. Don't ever forget that. Don't let anybody pull the wool over your eyes. No fancy website, no flashy email. Sometimes you will get stopped out. In fact, almost every day you will get stopped out. Occasionally you'll get your daily goal on your first trade, but that's a small percentage of the time. Most days it will take you somewhere between 3 to 5, possibly even as much as 7. And there will be some days when it takes you the full 10, and there will even be days when you have to dig into your rollover trades to make your $100. But it doesn't matter as long as you make your $100. I don't care how many trades I take today, I just got to make my $100. I got 47 rollover trades in my desk. I just picked up 10 fresh new trades today. That gives me 57 trades to hit my goal. All I got to do to stick with the blueprint, to graduate in 24 months as a 20 contract trader, is to just make sure, whether I'm at the 1 contract level or the 5 contract level or the 10 contract level, is if as long as I make my $100 today, everything's coming up roses. And when the roses die, it becomes tall cotton. John, you're not finding where it says daily double? Well, let me, sir, come over and lend a hand and see if I can't show you where that's at. Because I might have it was an odd hour that I had an emini.cfrn.net. Enter. Okay. Let's come down. There we go. Daily double beta test coming in 1 day. That means you've got today to get the app downloaded. It's free. Android, Apple, Windows PC, Mac. This time nobody gets left out. 2 alerts per day on your phone, on your Windows PC, even on your Mac. No matter where you are, no indicators required. And then if you hit this little 3 dots here, it'll open it up and it'll go into a little more detail. And of course, if you need help of any kind, get a hold of Michael and I. Support at CFRN.net. Support at CFRN.net or 949 42 Emini. Okay? All right. Did you find that, John? Beautiful. Perfect. Let me back up. Looks like I got a couple of questions. Dwayne, why don't you do trading zones for gold, crude, euro, and soybeans? Latrell, great question. I have done weekly trading zones for all of those markets. They all worked well because they all follow the same formula. But there are only so many hours in a day. And it is labor intensive to, oh, I see you're laughing now, LOL. Okay, you already know the answer. It just, I sat down at 2 o'clock last Sunday, and the Lord's Day, Sabbath, keep it holy, don't work. My grandfather, who wasn't an overly religious man, he wouldn't let you sweep the floor on Sunday, even if it needed it. Anyway, I sat down at 2 p.m. on this past Sunday. I did take a little break and watched a TV show or two with my wife and came back to my desk and turned the light out for the night at 2 a.m. knowing the market opened at 6:30 a.m. my time. So I would love to do the zones for all of the markets, but there just isn't enough hours in the day. And there is information that's provided to me when the markets open Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern that is an integral part of the formula that allows me to create the zones. So I know you were just pulling my leg now, Latrell, laughing out loud, but but you see, it's the truth, because every time somebody asks that, I always tell the same tired old story, because it's, now what I am willing to do, and I mentioned this yesterday, if enough people said we'd rather have gold than the NASDAQ, or crude than the NASDAQ, I would switch those out. I've been doing the S&P and the Dow for so long, I probably won't change those or the Russell because I've got some private equity partners that trade the Russell. But the NASDAQ, it's just worked out real well. But if enough people wanted crude or gold instead of the NASDAQ, then I would switch those out. Okay. Last week before last, well, not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, I switched out the NASDAQ for the Nikkei. Now, it turns out it was the wrong Nikkei. It doesn't have the high volume that the market I was looking for had. It's a different Nikkei on a different exchange. But anyway, I applied the formula. I spent the hours. I did the zones. And do I still have those? And that started on the 17th. And this candle's the 17th. Went zone to zone, and then it worked its way back up to the zone, down to the zone, and it missed the zone by a couple ticks, then back up to the zone, up to the zone, down to the zone, up to the zone. Then we overshot the zone. That happens sometimes. Then we came back down, missed the zone by a couple ticks, up to the zone, down to the zone, hot knife through butter, boom, up to the zone. And then just, this is a little unusual, hot knife through butter followed by, well, it's hard to call this a hot knife through butter because what happened is this thing went all the way down to this zone, and in the same hour, these are hourly candles, it came back up to close at this zone. And then we went zone to zone, back up to the zone again, and then zone to zone. And then we overshot a little bit, zone to zone, zone to zone to zone. And then it played around up here for a while. Looked like it wanted to make a move higher. It did not. Then we came back zone to zone, zone to zone. This is an overshoot. And then, oh wait, no, we're into the new week. This should have stopped at, see, the 24th was Sunday, so 23rd, 22nd. So close of business on the 22nd. It's that little green candle right there. So that's how we finished up the week. So now that's a market that I have no experience with. I've never traded it before. I don't know its quote-unquote personality, right? We hear a lot about that. Well, you know, different markets have different personalities, so you got to learn these certain methods and kind of ways. I call a chart a chart a chart. And some people have said, wow, that's cool, and other people have said, you're damned. You can't say that. They're all different, and mostly I don't care what people say. What people say about me, man, that is none of my business. So, if I can look in the mirror and know that whatever I did today was my best effort, and that if I actually feel in my heart that God is pleased with today's efforts, and I lay my head down and I find rest, I find peace. You're never gonna please everybody. So what if you could just please one? You think you can manage that? Well, then try to please God, because if you can please that one, the heck with all the rest of them. Because if you're pleasing Him and He's happy with your efforts, and other people don't line up with that, and don't see that, and don't appreciate that, and don't understand that, oh well, you know, B goes on. Okay, let's get through these, because I got stuff. Alright, bonds. Last night, when I was in my little sleepless period, I sent out it's on the Google Plus page, for bonds. We were looking to buy 172.06 and sell 171.30. Here's 172.06, okay? And the high is 11, so that's 5 ticks times 31.25. So that's $150 per contract in the first move, the first candle. Then important prices, important areas. This time we get 11 ticks times 31.25. 11 times 31.25. Okay. So we know that's over $330 per contract. And certainly exceeds your goal for the day if you're trading the 24/20 blueprint. Now, what hadn't happened at that time was the sell side, which was 171.30, and that came to be right here. $171.30. Okay. All right. So swing low here is 25. So that's 5 ticks. So that's another $150 per contract. And then prices. Oh, I didn't even notice this. Huh. So let's just suffice it to say we got below the trigger and we went up 11. No, it can't be 11. Wait a minute. If that's 172.06, 172.23, well, that should be 17, not 11. I was doing that from memory. It's supposed to be 17. I need to get my old mouse to work. Let's wipe it all out. 17 times 25. Okay. Now we're cooking. Because this is 17 swing highs, 17 from 06, that would be 11, and that's going to make, so we're going to have two 11s. We're going to have 11. Okay. And this little guy, the 5, which is another $150. So the bonds are just majestic on the short side, the long side. Now, the idea here again was to sell 171.30. Okay. Swing low right here is what did I do? 171.30. All right. So from 171.30 to 171.08. That would be 22. 22 times 31. 5. Call it $600. Now we've just come up and we've triggered and we're on our way down. Okay. Crude oil. Last night it was 8:30. 20:30. Will be that little candle right there. Yes. Okay. And so, in the world of crude, GCLU, we're looking to buy 42.30 given the chance, and we're going to be sellers at 43.10. And by the way, the free trade Sunday night, the one where I was very elaborate on the long side, and I said at the very end, and by the way, if I got it wrong, if I'm all wet, here's what's really going to happen. And oh my goodness, have you, well, you are looking at it. It was pretty amazing. Anyway, 40, all right, sell 43.10. Let me write that down. Sell 43.10. Swing low. 42.36. So, all right, guess I gotta do it the long way. 43.10 minus. Sorry. 42.36. And you got $740 per contract available. Put a tank of gas in your car. All right, crude oil sold 43.10. Second leg down, second move down. Got all the way down to 42.59. Let's round it up to 60. Which will make this whole thing $500. This one go above? Nope. It only went to 43.09, so it did not trigger a new trade. Although we could have one on the horizon. Alright? Okay. Soybeans. Let's get our feel like you just want to go out somewhere nice to eat, just because I'm sitting inside where it's air conditioning, and so if I get a sense of spring in the air. But if I go out my front door, it's like I get hit with one of those flamethrowers. So probably won't happen. But it could. Let's see. Okay. We're in the land of soybeans. Buy 172.06. No. Soybeans. Buy 967. Okay. So that's going to be come on. Okay, that's 9. I need to go up one more little tick. Just one. There it is. There it is, folks. We did it. Buy 967. You ready? By 967. Okay, first little tip over here took us up to 970. Okay, so that's $150 per, because soybeans pay $50 per point, so 3 points gives us $150 per contract. Okay. All right. Now here we get up to 968 and a quarter, so that's 1.25. That's not enough to give us our goal for the day. 1.25. Okay. But it's part of it. And then we take a ride up to, because important prices, important areas are almost always tested, we take a ride up to 975. So 75 minus 67. That's $400 per contract. 400 per contract. Now, you guys do know that you can have these in your inbox every night, like clockwork. Also, some nights the clocks run a little slower than others, but you can. Alright, so I'm going to go to this swing high, 967 to 981, 7 and 7, 981. Oh, I better get out the calculator. 81 minus 67. 14 times 50 equals $700 per contract. Okay. There we go. And then this pullback here, movement a little bit higher, but on this pullback, you're most likely stopped out because you're trailing your stop, and so we're not going to worry ourselves with that. Okay. All right, we've done the ES. Things worked out very well. But here we go again. Here we go again. I love it. The Dow, things went very well. Gold, very well, with a stop out. Bonds, awesome. Whether you were a buyer or seller or both. Okay. Crude oil. We had an opportunity to sell at 43.10, and the first move took us to $740 per contract. That's what the market made available. Of course, you got stopped out on the way back up. I'll show you if you were running your indicator set. Now, once you got your step line north of the MA1, okay, and this thing started building steam, if you waited till it closed, you gave back most of your profits. You still had profits. You still had more than your daily goal, didn't you? I guess you did. Because you need 2 points. 43. Yeah, okay. But, yeah. So, as you started this climb, you know, everything can't be cut and pasted. You still got to think sometimes, okay? That's why I brought this out, to show you. Yes, the money was there, but if you want to be purely mechanical, then it went bye-bye. Okay. And when I get at 740, that starts smelling a whole lot like $1,000. You want to stay with 1,000 for the stick around for the 1,000, but it doesn't always show up. So. If you got cut short over here, you had another nice chance of 500. So, soybeans, beautiful, 150, 400, 700. NQ, not calculated the NQ. Okay, the NQ we're looking to buy 46.50. $46.50. Alright. Now, the alert came out at 2030. No, I'm sorry, 1830. So that's going to be right there. Yes, 1830. Okay. Okay. 1830. No. This is 1830. NQ by 4650. By 4650. Okay. So from 4650 to 61, it's 6 points. And then from 4650 we had 4682. So 82 minus 50. 82 minus 82 minus 50. It is 31. Alright, so we have 31 points. 31 points at $20 per point per contract. Okay. All right. So that was certainly more than enough to get you your daily goal. At $20 a point, you only need 5 points to be officially done for the day if you're trading the blueprint. Then we get back below, trigger again, and we go from 4650. Got that. 4650 up to 6650. Call that 16. 16 times 20. Looks like another 16 right next to it. Double top going on there. 16. Okay. Yeah, it might have been a tad more, but we'll call it 16. Because it's a beautiful day for the NASDAQ. Alright. So we did the S&P, we did the Dow, we did the gold, we did the bonds, we did the crude oil, we did the soybeans, we did the Russell, we did not do the Russell, okay? So, 1830, where's that gonna be at? 1830 is when we dropped. But we don't open until 8 p.m. on this particular index because it comes from the ICE exchange. So, even though we sent the alert out at 1630, we have to wait for the actual market to open before we could trade it, and that happens at 8 o'clock. So it was 6:30 p.m. Eastern. We sent out the alerts. Market started trading at 8 p.m. Okay. Now, for the Russell, we're looking to buy 1206. Buy 1206. Go. Is that 1206? Too much. 1206 on the money. Buy 1206, okay. Buy 1206, okay. So our swing high, well, we'll just count it right here. 1206 took us to 1209.1. So at $100 per point, that's what the Russell pays. We're going to call this $300 per. Okay. And important prices, important areas, almost always tested. And we get a little bit of a test here. 1208.20. So that would be $220. Is that right? Let's see what it is. Okay, the high is 1208, so that's 200. Yeah, that's right. Okay. And then we come back down to 1206. Now, if you took profit here, then you didn't get to participate in this because we did not drop below the trigger again after this. So, I mean, if you just kind of rode this out, then you made out. Because we hit a high of 1215.5. So 9 and 6 is 15. That would be $900 per contract. 900 per contract available. 900 per contract available. Now you're trailing your stop, trailing your stop, trailing your stop. You're going to get whacked on this pullback here. Then you get right back below the trigger. This time you rise up to 1215. Is that right? 1215.30. So just call it 1215. So that's another 900. Okay. So we go like that. Go like that. Like that. Like that. So now we've covered them all. We did them all, top to bottom. And we talked to a very nice lady who is working very hard towards a very important cause. I'm going to put some information on our website about that foundation, and I encourage you to, especially those of you here in the Arizona area, especially in the Phoenix area, where you might take your children out to that park or out to that golf course or whatever it might be on a weekend. Really consider. Or at Thanksgiving, they fed, what did she say, 400, 700? That's a lot of people. That takes a lot of manpower. So, I mean, you and your family can have your turkey dinner that night. But you can be up early in the morning and being down, helping get ready to feed hundreds. And when you're feeding people, what a wonderful opportunity to talk to them about the saving power of Jesus Christ. It's an amazing, amazing thing. They say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Okay. One thing we did learn in Mexico with one of our first missions is that you preach first and then you feed. Our first outreach, we had hundreds. We fed. When it came time to preach, we had about 20. So the next time we said, okay, God's given us wisdom. We're going to preach first, then we're going to feed. And we had 200 for the preaching and 200 for the feeding. So that worked out. That worked out quite nicely, I must say. All right. Michael G, NQ you used on the chart was wrong. Okay, we'll go take a look at that. Stress test must not be so good they're scared to do today. Okay, Brian. Holding European bank news till Friday at 4 p.m. close time. Well, I heard, yesterday I heard that they were not going to release the results of the stress tests until Friday. I didn't know what time. This Brian says this range waiting for the Fed is not so fun, but can be rewarding if smart. Yes. Oh, John, once you have signed up, okay, once you have the app, just send an email to you made me forget. Here, I pulled up, I made a special thing I'm going to do. Daily double, that's it. Send an email to, I thought I put it in there. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm going to go back in and edit that. It's supposed to say, if you have any questions, if you need any help, I'll do that. I'll just do that straight away. Why put off to tomorrow? What you can do today. Right? That's what Grandma said, or somebody. And she always got it right. Oh, I see. I'm on the... Okay. Let me just close that down. Closing down. Boop. Boop. Okay. Now, let's do it this way. Let's drag this over here. Come on, Mouse. You almost got me through another day. You can do this. Can't you? Alright, here's what you do. You send an email to dailydouble@cfrn.net and just say, this is so-and-so, and I've got the Telegram app, and that's it. If you need help downloading, installing, understanding any of that stuff, email support@cfrn.net. Also, call us 949-42-EMINI or 415-857-5654. I was so positive. That I put that in there last night. I must have put it in somewhere else. Oh, might have been in the email I created for Michael. Alright, I'll just have to beat my mouse up a little bit and then it'll cooperate. Alright, well, I'm not going to tell you. I'll tidy that up. So, dailydouble@cfrn.net. Just let us know that you have the app downloaded. We'll then be sending you an email that gives you the address to the secret channel that shouldn't be shared, where you will receive your beta test trades. You'll get 2 a day for 5 days. That'll complete the beta test. We will publish the results so everyone will know exactly what happened with every single trade. Then we will roll out the finished product, and those who participated in the beta test, okay, you're going to have first dibs. Now hear me well. Those who participated in the beta test will have first dibs at the spots available initially in the finished product. Eventually the finished product will be, huge, but in the beginning it's going to be limited somewhat in scope. But you're guaranteed a seat if you want it. Okay? Also, once it rolls out as a finished product, those who participated in the beta test will also be given an introductory price, and you will be given protection against any future price increase ever. I think you're really going to like this, because you'll be bopping around, you'll be at the store, be shopping with the wife, or maybe be changing the oil in your car if you're one of those kind of guys, or you'll be down the street shooting some hoops, and all of a sudden your phone will make this sound like a old-timey telegram. And people look at you and go, dude, what kind of ringtone is that? And you'll just smile and go, that's the sound of money. You pull out your phone, open the app, read the trade, open your broker's app, enter the trade, entry, stop loss, target. Unless you want to come back and trail the target, That's up to you, but I'm going to give you the entry, the stop, the target. And you'll be done in 5 minutes, and you'll put your phone back in your pocket, and you will go back to shopping or changing your oil or playing b-ball with the boys down the street. And then if in a relatively short period of time we hit our price target, I'm going to make that thing make a very loud ka-ching sound, just because I think that'll be funny. The guys you're playing b-ball will go, because everybody knows what the ka-ching sound is. They'll look at you and go, what was that? Oh, that was my trade. I just took. Don't worry about it. It's no big deal. What do you mean? Did you actually make money off that? Well, you know, that's business. I'm here to play b-ball and have some fun. Oh, you just got you some street creds or some grocery market creds. Or some crawling under the car creds. Whatever kind of creds you want, you got them. They're on you now. So good for you. Michael, the beta test is open to anybody. Brian, go to emini.cfrn.net. The upper left-hand corner, the very first post, okay? Let me show you. If you open it skinny like that, it'll just be the first post. And these three little dots, if you hit them, it opens it up for the full post, okay? And what you want to do is, if you just point the browser on your smartphone to this address, it'll get there, and then you can hit Android or you can hit Apple, and it'll open up your app store and it'll take you straight to the app, so you won't have to hunt around for it. If you're going to put it on your desktop computer, same thing. You just click that, bingo bango. You want Android, you want iPhone, you want iPad, you want Windows Phone, you want one of those things that Google makes. They're very thin and lightweight. They just talk to the cloud. There's no, you can't stick any disks in there and install any programs. It'll work on that. If you got a Mac, it'll work on that. If you got a PC, Mac, Linux, it'll work with that. It'll work with everything. I've been sitting here dreaming about this very thing for a couple of years, and I didn't have the know-how to build it. And I contacted some developers. The prices they quoted me for building it was like, oh my goodness. I'm going to have to save up or borrow some money out of my kids' piggy bank. Then all of a sudden one day, there it was. I liken it to when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Well, I was ready and the app appeared. Bang. So, I'm excited, as I hope you are too. So, please, today, it's really important that we get this thing squared away today. If you're going to download the app, do it now. It'll take all of, not even 5 minutes. And then all you got to do is just send an email to dailydouble@cfrn.net. This is Bill Smith, and I just downloaded the Telegram app. That's all you got to do. And then late this afternoon, this evening, once everybody's had a chance to get it downloaded, We're going to shoot you out the super secret channel that you'll key in there, and you and only a select few will have access to these trades over the next 5 days. Okay? Now, I can't promise you they're going to come at 9 in the morning or 11 in the morning or 3 in the afternoon. You see, here's the thing with concierge trades. I mean, let's face it, I recap them every day. They're awesome. But you never know when they're going to trigger because of the manner that I derive them. Same thing with even the one traded days, you know, with the daily double. When those come out, those are very imminent, okay? Which is why I say within, you know, try to get in the knack of in 5 minutes whipping out your phone, jotting down the trade, opening your broker's app, placing the order, and go about your business. It's either going to hit your profit target or it's going to hit your stop. Or you'll have to sit and watch it if you plan to trail your stop. Okay? Whoever your broker is, I don't think there's a broker out there now that doesn't have a mobile app. And it will utilize, all you got to do is go to your app store, and let's say you're with Ameritrade or Thinkorswim or Daniel's Trading. Okay? Go to your app store, type in the name of your broker. Unless it's like a really tiny boutique broker, if you know, they'll have an app and it'll be free, and you'll download it and you'll punch in your user ID and your password, and it'll open up and you'll go, whoa, that is so cool. Now, because of the limitations of these broker type apps, like you can't load your CFRN indicators onto the Daniel's Trading app, but you can see the charts, and you can certainly place your buy and sell orders with your stop loss and your target and all of that good stuff. Okay? If you have any questions or need any help with your broker app, Bert, I think, can help you with the DT Pro app, or he can put you in touch with the guy who can. 866-928-3310. If you need help with Telegram itself, call Michael and I, 949-42-EMINI, or email support@cfrn.net. The main thing is, as soon as you get that baby downloaded, okay, send us an email. This is Bill Smith. I just got the app downloaded. Because as soon as we hit a certain number, that's when we're going to fire out the emails to you individually and tell you the channel number that you'll need to plug into your app so that you'll be able to receive the trades as we send them out. Now, again, I can't say it'll be at 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I'll be scoping the market from pre-market, you know, like maybe 30 minutes before it opens, all the way up to the close of business. These are going to be regular trading hours during the beta. We may extend into after hours after the beta, but for now it'll be in regular trading hours. And I am going to wait until I see the setups that I feel are absolutely imminent, and that's why I want you to practice with that 5 to maximum 10-minute window of opening Telegram, writing down the trade, and then opening your broker's app, putting in the trade. That's if you're going to actually trade it. Maybe you're just going to keep track by paper, or or you can even, most of the mobile apps have, you can access your demo account in your mobile app. So, I mean, just make sure you know which one you're logging into if you want to do it in your demo. And and you probably should, you know. I mean, unless you're really, you know, a well-versed, talented trader, you should probably take this first week, this beta, and just run it in your demo account, okay? That way you don't lose any sleep, there's no stress, we all have a good time, and I'm really looking forward to it. So just one last time, emini.cfrn.net, and the top post gives you the link to go to on your, doesn't matter if you go to that link on your smartphone or on your desktop. Now, on the desktop, you'll download it there, and on your smartphone, you'll, of course, download it there. But I think it's great to have it in both places, because if you're sitting at your desk and an alarm goes off, you'll be able to, you know, bring up, you know, the full set of charts on your desk. You don't have to do it on both, but I think it's convenient to have it in both places. So, and I'm pretty sure you can do that. So, if you have any questions, write us, call us. We'll be answering your questions. Jerry says, I guess it does not work on Windows 7. Says 10818. I have no idea, Jerry. All I know is what I just showed everybody up on the screen there, where it says it works on everything, and everything I've tested it on, it's worked on just fine. So, a native app for every platform, Telegram web version, Telegram for Mac OS, Telegram for PC, Mac, or Linux. Since it's a relatively new app, I don't think they would leave out Windows 7 by any stretch. If anything, they might have missed Windows 10. But Frederick says he downloaded on 7 and it's working just fine. So I'm not sure what the hiccup is. Okay, Brian, the email, which is in the article, but it's dailydouble@cfrn.net. All one word, no hyphens or anything, just dailydouble@cfrn.net. Well, you know, Jerry, here's what I would do, is I would go to I'd go to the frequently asked questions. I would then go to, now this is open source software, so you're not going to get, you know, nobody falling all over you to give you customer support, but I know that they do have a ton of frequently asked questions, and so if you dive in there, you should be able to figure out whatever the issue is that you're running up against. Okay? And like I say, Frederick says he just downloaded his on Windows 7 and it worked out just fine for him. So I'm not sure. Maybe reboot your phone. Sometimes I tell my kids, sometimes you just gotta reboot. Okay? Oh, that's how you can get customer support from them. If you have any other questions, please contact Telegram support. In the Telegram, go to Settings, Ask a Question. Note that we rely on volunteers for support. Remember, this is open source software. you can't log into your account, use this form. But if you have a Twitter question, then follow at Telegram. And then once you follow at Telegram, then on Twitter you just start out with at Telegram and then space, and then you go, hey, I'm getting this error message. Could someone please tell me what the problem might be? And then they have a special account that can help you with login problems. Okay. So, we're a team. We'll get it all figured out. Okay. I wish I could just come over to your house and fix it for you, but well, I can't do that. Dwayne N also has Windows 7 and downloaded it. Okay. So please, guys, all of you that have downloaded it, please make sure you send an email, just a simple email to dailydouble@cfrn.net with your name and just, I have the app downloaded. So that lets us know when we hit the number that we're shooting for, and then we'll send out everyone the channel ID. Okay? Alright, I got much work to do. I thank you all so very much for tuning in today. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-host and guest. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any securities. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.